Well, thanks everybody for joining. Montreal is such a great city. It's actually my home city. It's where I came from, and I love Montreal. It's such an awesome place. So let's just get going. I got 20 minutes, and I probably have the same bet I had with Kevin last time on a bottle of wine. If I can do this. But let's talk about change. You know, digital transformation is changing us rapidly, and we all know this. I don't have to spend time on it. And the use cases are just really insane amount what it's affecting from all industries, warehouses and smart factories and cars and you name it. One thing that's come out though, and we've seen these change, is this generative AI. You see when it's done and the buzz it's created, but what people don't understand is what industries is it going to change. And there's just a few I've listed down. Massive industries are going to change just from generative AI. And now you see Apple just announced their smart glasses. Not that smart glasses haven't been around, but it's really moving to the point where it's going to change reality, and lots of our use cases will be now bent around these smart glasses. Today's smart glasses are the GPUs and everything built into them, but tomorrow one will just be a real glass with just 5G or 6G, and that's it. Everything is happening from the edge. So it's really going to transform us really rapidly. The main point I want to take away from this is that change causes disruption, and disruption suddenly becomes the new normal. And the most important thing is you have to be able to change. An example of disruption in networking, and I'm going to show you right here, is this idea of the internet and the business network from site to site VPN has suddenly changed to the destination being cloud. And what you can see right now, there's a new last mile or first mile or local loop, and it's becoming the internet as the local loop. And that local loop is feeding into the edge, and that edge is really where services are, being rendered now, all kinds of network services, overlay, cybersecurity services. And also you're seeing the emergence of distributed clouds, hyperscaler clouds, SaaS clouds, IaaS clouds, PaaS clouds. And for where you have to go to clouds in the regions, you're basically seeing the middle mile that's appeared, which has now replaced the internet by business grade networks, and middle miles are showing up everywhere. Concept connected middle mile network. You've got many, and all the providers are really providing their backbones to connect into clouds. And finally, what has not realized is that we built Carrier Ethernet on sharing, a port and using VLANs to share amongst that port. But now people are saying the cost of port for Ethernet is LAN Ethernet so cheap that it's becoming the new NNI to connect everything together, and just using that in carrier hotels is good enough. So disruption is happening everywhere, and this is an example of disruption in networking, and we have to change with it. And that's really what the essence of what we're going to talk about is network as a service is a utility for change. Really, at the end of the day, it is about providing a utility, just like we get a utility of water and hydro and gas and all kinds of things from our house. Okay, the utility, I don't have to change anything. I just expect it to work and work to the, what a great experience is. And most of the time where we all live, we get really incredible experiences. Unless we had a power outage, then we need our generators. But anyways, most of the time it works, and this is really what we need. We need networks to do the exact same thing. And what network as a service is coming into is really a commercial model. That's really important, the commercial model. We'll talk about it in a second. But it's this, what clouds have done to IT. Clouds are now emerging for networks. So, the cloud itself, the network itself is a cloud and delivering as a service. And it's all virtualized, and it's computer, it's basically cloud-centric. It's fully automated, it's cloud native, it's access from anywhere, it's network security built in, and so on. The other thing is, if you look at the benefits, obviously the top one is just basically, reducing the cost. But if you look further down, you'll see that it's all about innovation, that they don't have to, the enterprises don't have to innovate on their own. They expect the utility to keep up and modernize and keep up to date. So this is really powerful. So I just wanted to point that out. So We'll talk about MEF's NAS vision here, secure NAS, and we're still debating whether it should be secure NAS or NAS, but we'll get that label finally right. Our NAS vision has been really simple, and we've been doing this, whether we've been doing this intentionally or not, we really have been doing this, and I don't know if you can see this, but if you look at from the bottom up, we started with carrier Ethernet, and for 20 years, that's what we did really well, $80 billion market. And then we went and defined IP service definitions and attributes. Didn't need to do that. IETF has done a lot of that work, but we did that because we felt it was necessary, and it played a very important role as the fundamentals for our SD-WAN work. And now it's playing very important for all our internet schemas, for all our automation schemas, and so on. So this work we did in IP has really paid off and continues to pay off. And we went up the stack, and we went to SD-WAN. SD-WAN is still maturing, but we're the official standard bodies for it, and we're doing lots of work at Universal SD-WAN. SD-WAN version 3 is coming out. We have now, slicing is part of this, network slicing, and so we keep emerging. And then going further up the stack, we've now done the cybersecurity. We've released SASE, Zero Trust Framework, and IP security functions, or security functions for IP services, which I believe should be SSE, and I'll cover that in a second. And then finally, we're going up to multi-clouds, and we're doing an edge IaaS and so on. So this is all the work the digital services committees have done. So hats off, kudos to them. And you surround all of this with automation and certification. So what does that mean? Basically, we now know, and we've got tremendous adoption, as Kevin has pointed out, that the first thing we've been automating is this underlay. How can all the providers connect together in an underlay way? And it's been carrier Ethernet, obviously, number one. Now internet's become huge. Everybody wants to get an internet loop. And so you're seeing that demand growing through the roof. And we're seeing that also on this buy-sell journey, we're adding wavelengths and fiber, and there's also big desire for 5G fixed wireless access now, because I can ship a loop anywhere and turn it up within days versus build-outs, and then wait for the build-outs or use them backup and so on. But there are all kinds of other horizontal use cases that can be used. I won't spend a lot of time on it, that our APIs can support by just changing the payloads. And I'll explain here as I get to the APIs why this is so powerful. And then also facing the enterprise, there is tremendous opportunity to take all these APIs we've done and then put them towards the enterprise from an IT point of view, IT pro point of view. And then there's also the idea from a developer point of view that could actually use APIs to program the network or get information from the network. So very powerful ideas, all part of our ability to deliver on NAS. We've talked about NAS, and really it's as a service, I said, but it's the ability of combining underlay, overlay, cybersecurity, and multi-clouds, we believe, with a converged fixed and wireless capability. And you'll see later in my presentation, I'll talk about even going into the campus, moving the DMARC past the uni and going right to the endpoint is even a part of the NAS journey. And then finally, the most important thing is it's designed to basically get business outcomes without owning anything. So as a utility at home, I don't own anything. I just subscribe to the utility, and the utility delivers everything. Our blueprint, I'm going to cover really rapidly, covers many areas, but the technical side is what I'm going to cover. We are going to support, and we will release out by GNE, material of go-to-market support material and so on. And we'll continue to also write a report on NAS in 2024, an analyst report, just like we did for our automation report. And I think that'd be very powerful. So I'm going to cover the technical blueprint really fast. And what you're going to see, and I'm not going to spend time on any one slide, but what you're going to see is over the periods of 20 plus years, all the assets, and for the last 6 years I've been a CTO, the assets this membership has built with leadership and contractors and the board and the tab and so on, it's been incredible for an industry body to do this at this rapid speed. And do we need to do more? And I will cover that in a gap analysis, showing some of the gaps we're missing. But it's really incredible. So number one, you're just going to see a high-level viewpoint from the automation aspects to on-demand connectivity, all the overlay side of application assurance, cybersecurity, multi-cloud, and then all the test and certification. So you can see all the active projects, all the published standards and so on, very, very powerful. But if you can see right here, just from the framework, this was the start of our journey, of the automation journey. When I came in, there was one document called MEF-CECP, an amazing framework document that still serves today for all our APIs. It described reference points and how to carve up automation in different directions and in different areas. And that has served as the blueprint for all you're going to see come out of this now. We now have a tremendous assets of APIs, both business and operational APIs, and we also have blockchain coming in really, really fast, and that is all coming together, very powerful to form the automation blueprint. You're also seeing the idea of operational APIs. We just in Fergie released the performance side. We do service provisioning, service inventory, provisioning, service performance, and now you're going to see in Grace we'll have fault and service function testing. And you'll see there's a couple more we need to add, and I'll show you the gaps in this, but tremendous amount of work. We just talked about operational APIs maybe a year plus ago, and now look at all the work we've delivered on. So kudos to everybody in the OSO committee. We also have your service schemas, product and service schemas. This is really causing a differentiation, not only for carrier Ethernet and the internet and so on, but what you're seeing is a whole set of proposed new product and service schemas that beyond goes what we've been doing into all kinds of areas, and some that we don't have service definitions, but yet we're going to build schemas on this in the marketplace. So very, very powerful. Also, this is the essence and the heritage where we came from. This is truly our carrier Ethernet network over 20 years. So you're seeing 20 years of work, and all the other stuff you saw is 6 years of work. So you could see that 20 years formed the foundation for everything we've done now, up to now, and it's been a very important part of carrier Ethernet to this forum to be that foundational layer for everything else we've built upon. You also see that we have on-demand connectivity for IP services, and I talked about the IP services work. We created the fundamentals for all our SD-WAN work, our cybersecurity work, and now we're doing edge compute for edge IaaS. So all of this is a massive amount of projects, a massive amount of standards, and it creates the blueprint, the technical blueprints, all the atomic kinds of functions to build out NAS. And really and tested certification, can't forget about that. So we're now adding that SASE certification, which I'll cover at the end, and we've already been doing carrier Ethernet certification and so on. And really, you want to think of all of this coming in 3 bundles, and all of these bundles will have use cases. So on-demand connectivity, application assurance and cybersecurity, and multi-cloud, all driven by automation, because without automation, it doesn't have that cloud-like property. So here's the example of how we'll take all of that stuff I showed you into one of those categories of those themes of those bundles. And you'll see, for example, just take an example use case of SD-WAN. We will describe in the blueprint what is the service standards for an SD-WAN you want to think about when you're deploying a NAS service. What is the certifications and training you want to think about when you're deploying that NAS service? What are all the automation APIs, including the blockchain, including what SDKs, and API security that everybody seems to forget, securing those APIs. All of that is all part of the blueprint for the use case of SD-WAN. And then finally, the providers themselves, the NAS providers, can build their own differentiate on top. So this is an example, what you'll see come out hopefully by G&E, and Stan's working hard on this, is how to take all those assets, how to take them into use cases, into one of those 3 different bundles, and that everybody can utilize as their blueprint to roll out their NAS service. So I want to thank all of you members, all of the board, all the leadership to getting us to here. It's really incredible journey to take all of this to package to where we are now on the journey. So I will now cover gap analysis in the 3 areas of automation, in services, and in certification to talk about what I think we need to be thinking about. And I hope the membership, the committees, the chairs, think about this, of how we get this and incubate it and so on. So I've got about 5 or 6 minutes, so I'll walk through really fast. This has been our framework. I don't need to explain it. Everybody knows it. It's just mean much more prettier than the original MEF-55 dock. The MEF-55 was kind of more kind of techie geeky, so we made it really pretty, but it's still a MEF-55. This is the APIs I just talked about. They're split up again into the business layers and the operational layers. And most of the business layers, except for the catalog API, is now done. It's official standards. They come up with dev guides. They come up with use case requirements with the workflow for architects to use. Very powerful. They support all kinds of payloads. You can even order pizzas with them if you wanted to. So, and now the operational APIs, we're just really maturing that heavily. And like I talked about, the next one out in Grace will be fault and service function testing. Otherwise, the rest are all there in a very good solid state and going to standardization. All the payloads, you know, we've been thinking only of, you know, the Ethernet and internet, but look at all the various payloads we're now making and building. We created the first cookie cutter, which was carry Ethernet, and now we're building all kinds of cookies in different flavors and colors and types. And that all runs inside those APIs. Very, very powerful what we're doing here at MEF to the automation journey. So one of the things we're doing is we've done really well in the east-west direction and going down south from the BSS layer to just before we get into the OSS or the orchestration layers. It's kind of where we kind of stopped. And one of the things we got to figure out, and one of the ways we're talking is to TM Forum is, can they help us and help the industry and work together? And I had a call with one of the directors at TM Forum, and it was really a good call that there's a project that we don't do really well is how do we go further down south and how do we abstract all of that legacy brownfield OSS systems and bring in the new orchestration systems and legacy EMS systems. And the TM Forum has this NAS transformational, what they call open digital architecture, I think it's called. And Joanne, where's Joanne? She's the expert, there she is. She's helped us with this and she continues to help us. So talk to Joanne if you want to know more about this. There's a lot of work here. I'm not going to fool to say that, hey, this is as simple. We're going to have to figure out more work. We might have to do some joint development. And here's the techie slide of this. This is Joanne's slide. Sorry, Joanne, I forgot some of the colors here. But, you know, the slide got mixed up. But anyways, this is the TM Forum version of this and what they're working on. And this is the layer, the abstraction layer, just like in Windows and what most people are doing, put abstraction to extract out all that complexity at the bottom. So all that layers at the bottom is really what that TM Forum NAS is doing. Now, I'm not sure why they call it NAS, but I think it was a NAS, different a NAS than we have, but it was a NAS that the TM Forum thought about. Okay. So that's what you call it. So it's the network services being exposed, its capabilities up northbound. And so you call that NAS. Okay, cool. Good to know that. So this is the actual same document, it's a big document specification that Joanne has been driving heavily with Telstra and others. And this describes all of these APIs that has to be at that NAS layer. But when Jack and Joanne and others analyzed these APIs, guess what we found out? That we're covering most of them already, except for two. So these are the two we're gonna have to add in to complete this TM Forum NAS ODA project. And so, you know, as CIOs look at, hey, it's great that you do all this business, east-west stuff, but how do I tie it into my actual operational systems, my orchestration systems down south with my network? And this is the project that we're gonna talk to more. And I'm going to Copenhagen at the Digital Transformation World, DTW, I think it's called. And I will be there in September. I'll be meeting with the executives. We're going to figure this out because we have to solve the problem of that complexity as we go down south, past the BSS layer. How do we help the CIOs to realize all of this innovation automation? It's not as easy as the paper looks like or the slides. There's a lot of complexity as you go further south. So the other one is you're going to see Jack talk about extending schemas. We do not have an SD-WAN product schema, by the way, just so you know that. We need that. And we have a service schema for SD-WAN, but not a product schema. So we need to do that. The other thing is we don't have product or service schemas for SASE or ZTNA. And we need to have extensions because every vendor will have their own extension. So I really encourage you to tune in to Jack's proposal and his BOF tonight. I've gone through it and it's really good. He's got a number of ways of skinning this cat. So I hope the committee really looks at this and thinks about this. Is it tomorrow night? Oh, okay, sorry, my bad. Multi-cloud networking. I think, a lot of providers are already doing this, but what I'm trying to show you is a little bit different. I'm saying the experience as they buy the network and they buy it through either portals, but more and more they want APIs, they want us to buy cloud connectivity that way too. So there should be no difference of buying something from the provider of SASE, SD-WAN, underlays, overlays, and cloud connectivity should all be part of the same experience. And there might have to be adapters from either using Sonata or directly putting adapters in their own OSS systems or orchestrators and so on. But this is really part of our multi-cloud journey we have to think about. And it gets more complex because now it doesn't only connectivity to clouds, but in the clouds, in the hyperscalers, they have all kinds of regions around the world. And every one of these regions have to be connected, and they have to be connected what they call by virtual private clouds or VNets. And all those VPCs and VNets that belongs to the subscriber has to be provisioned, connected, put routing functionalities, put firewalls in between. That's all intra-cloud networking that's very complex that the providers have to now provide to the end subscriber. It's not as, oh, you know what, I've connected to the cloud, I'm done. The more value becomes that the service provider or the NAS provider now actually owns also that cloud part of that networking, all that intra-network. And now multi-cloud and super clouds are merging. So it's just not one cloud, but 2 and 3 and 4 clouds that the service provider has to now manage all those VPCs and VNets. So that's it. Not pretty easy, right? The slides, but a lot of work to be done in this forum. So we're not going to do this overnight. It's not going to happen in the next 6 months, but it's part of our journey in the NAS journey. In the services, we've done a really good job for SASE and ZTNA, our Zero Trust Framework. We are missing SSE standardization. And we need that because we have certification, but we don't have SSE. We had an incubation group, but that didn't really take off because we didn't have enough people participating, contributing. So my ask is, we do have a work called 138 that came from work 88, which was defining security functions. I think it's a very good document for version 1, was called MEF-CECP. Version 2 is being built out now. I ask you to participate in 138 because Mike has volunteered to take 138 and write the appendix of the SSE, what Gartner defined as SSE in the appendix. And it's going to go 2 ways. If we all get contribution, we're going to convert 138 to SSE, or we're going to point to 138 and build the new SSE standard. But we definitely need an SSE standard in the services committee because there is now a definition in the industry and we need to be part of that. The other one I've said is cybersecurity is incomplete if it's only about a cloud security. You need to have the endpoints, and it's not just endpoints. If you look at the diagram, it's telemetry data from all kinds of going into a telemetry data lake, and SecOps and AI ops, and now generative AI will analyze that data and predict outcomes. And I think this is very important. Now there's an XDR alliance, there's other people doing alliances. We might have to partner, just like with TM Forum. We're gonna have to figure this out. Can we do it ourselves? Should we do it ourselves? Should we partner with another forum or another association? We have to think about this, but it's not complete. A NAS service is not complete if you're saying, and you're gonna see my next slide, if I don't take care of your endpoints, it's not part of my service. It is part, a managed detection and response is part of a cybersecurity suite as a full NAS. And again, can we do it today? Probably not, we'll have to figure it out. The other one is, and thanks to Nal and Suresh that came in here, and I've been saying this all along, that the DMARC is not stopping at some network point inside some site that was our traditional DMARC, the UNI, we call it the user network interface. It is actually going to move, and it's going to be the responsibility of a NAS provider to own all the way to that device, whether that device be an IoT or a machine or whatever. And that means it's going to be either on LAN, on Wi-Fi, or private 5G. And that whole experience has to be end-to-end, not stopping at the UNI. And so we're going to have to figure out what's our role in this. Do we partner with someone? Do we standardize? And thanks to Nile Networks and Suresh coming in, we'll have some great thought leadership in how to do this and what to apply resources. So in certification, and I will stop here for short, we talked about our certification. There's 3 certifications that makes up our SASE certification. We're gone beyond just standards. We're certifying now the behavioral outcome and how the enterprises want that behavioral. Does it work? Does it's really secure? Does my application performance really work? More than just a standard, but actually the behavior and the outcome. And what we're adding now is the whole ITSM processes to the service provider certification, which they call ITIL. And it's the infrastructure library, IT infrastructure library processes that's been well-defined. So we're gonna add that in, that'll be part of the certification. So stay tuned, that will be following on, probably by next year, we'll have that all in place. And Mike's already doing the work, and we're working together to go build that out into the test cases of those requirement specs. So other items, Spotlight on SASEs tomorrow. Please attend that. I think it's very enlightening. You're going to get great speakers. There'll be a tutorial even on some of our work and so on. The State of the Industry report, download it. Stan's written it. It's an awesome report, well sponsored by many of our partners in automation, so thank you. And finally, go to the G&E event, get part of it, be a sponsor. It's going to be an incredible event. It's all about NAS. So with that, I will stop, and I probably still now I will give another bottle of wine.